Hi, February 10th, 25 on my side. My name's Davey. Um, I have always been a fan of science fiction, and not all of it, but the ones that most people like. Yeah. But anyways, it led me to at least believe in what if, and time travel has always been something I liked, and I still love that stuff. Some movies I can watch over and over. Having said that, we have always said that time travel is not possible. Well, maybe not always said, but up to pretty recent events, it's looked that way because we had no experience. No, I mean, I'm going to just throw out let you just get an inside idea about how my mind works, because I have a lot of assuming going on up there, and it just throws it out. So I'm just gonna say it. Forgive me if it's assumption. Pardon me. Okay, I'm just gonna say that in advance. That's my disclaimer, and then we're gonna just run it. Here we go. Okay. I don't believe going backwards in the classical sense is a possibility. I don't, well, okay, yeah, it's possible, but a likelihood that we are ever going to do it before we get off the planet, living in another star system or living on another planet as well as Earth. Um, because they said that it would require all of the energy in the universe to do it. And I'd come to realize we just never recognized that. Have you ever thought of yourself like in a movie? What if you could actually step out of the machine, step out of the DVD player? Well, this is the kicker. In order to travel, let me just explain this. In order to go back in time, you let me just witness what happens. Okay, this is what you would have to do in order to find out what happens. How the hell am I going to explain this? If a laser beam, fire a laser beam into a black hole and somehow get witness of what that laser saw. And because what we see when someone goes into a black hole is they slow down and they slow down and they slow down until they get to the event horizon where they infinitely slow down. Yeah, they stop. But we never hear what it's like from there's movies like Interstellar. Very few times do we hear what it's like for the guy going in. So let's say this person has been going in. They look back. They see the observer for a split second who had been there for, let's say, minutes. But let's say days. It would be like instantaneously, like they would witness the end of time. Time would go forward faster and faster and faster and faster the closer they went to the event horizon, until in fact, yes, once they got to the event horizon, assuming that they were able to retain integrity, crossing over the event horizon, just at that moment, looking back at the universe, they would actually witness what the end of time sees, which is the beginning of time. The end of, from a black hole's perspective. Okay, because they would actually at that moment be at the doorway of causality, being able to step out of the causality. So let me explain. How do you explain? Okay. Logically, if they're going into it, yeah, they would, from the outside viewer, they're slowing down, but they're really going the same speed. So them going in, they might even be going a little bit faster because gravity is now pulling them in. So them going in, looking out, would see the outside time, outside observer, the movement of the heavenly bodies would become apparent and then obvious. and you would be able to witness it. Eventually it would become just streaks, and then one streak. And that one streak is the end of time, because you crossed over the event horizon. And if from the if the outside observer sees you frozen infinitely, then you would be there for an infinite amount of time. That is to say that you would witness the true end of time, but then still be, from an outside observer, infinitely there, but you're actually physically, truly inside the event horizon. So, nothing's going to withstand that gravity. Not a thing. So then we're going to have to discuss other colored holes besides black. There is a nice rainbow to explain. And one of the gifts of different forces theory is that a lot of these things are actually law, so forgive my terminology. But changing that word around a little bit has allowed me to kind of play with these ideas. Because I'd forget which one was theory and which one was law and which one was my own hunch at one point, yeah. So, okay. Lost my train of thought. Give me a sec. Okay, so they would be witness to the end of time, which would be one stream. As they step out of causality, they would see the stream of time that they had just left. And as long as that they are in that next dimension, that higher dimension, would be witness to infinite causalities. There would be string after string after. I don't know if they're lined up. Maybe in a computer they would be. But in reality, I don't know if it would be like... Do you remember when they were saying black holes were perfect spheres, and they were like, no, they're like really hairy tennis ball, like hairy, not like a tennis ball, but like just really long strands of black coming off, like spaghetti strings flying out of the sphere. There were several different ideas of what a black hole shape looked like. And here's one of the reasons why I'm so convinced to the point of certainty that these things are real. Because we use words like infinitely small, infinitely dense, infinitely... That, in a world, in a universe where there is no such thing as infinite, we have even gone so far as to say there's an edge, then it only stands to reason logically that there must be a finite point. What then is happening? Time is the other dimension that we're not bringing into question. So if something is getting squeezed infinitely small, it's squirting out on the other side. Where's the other side? Back then, the Big Bang. So we don't really know when that really was. But I happen to believe that 13 point something such billion years ago is a laughably small amount, and an infinitesimally small amount of time compared to what it could very well be. Extraordinarily larger, maybe just a little bit bigger. I don't know, okay? It's just, whenever the stars in the sky is a smaller number than the sands on the very shore of one planet, you gotta scratch your head, go, really? Because I don't think so. I really think it's transcendently about the same. So, in other words, infinite. But technically, now that we're talking about time, that is absolutely true, because there are infinite causalities. If you the person made a left that day instead of a right, or they went straight, or they didn't even leave, or they left 1 second earlier, 1 second later, etc., etc., etc. You've got 8 billion people to even calculate with all that. The gift in this is that, okay, why do I feel like I can go even and probe in this when my interest in life before had absolutely nothing to do with this? I've had a lot of time to sit and think. That's part of it. But it really helped to come out of the closet, because once I got that sorted out, I had a lot more things to think about than the same 2 or 3 questions I'd ask. Why am I like this? God, am I gay? Was I supposed to be born that? Once that question's out of the way, I can start thinking about other things. So, how fast do we have to go back in time? The speed of light. I don't believe we've actually gotten to the speed of light when we explain it as approximately 300,000 kilometers per second. I believe that is the speed of causality, as it, perhaps even as it pertains on Earth. We don't know what other areas in space and time are even like. We have even wondered how the heck those blue stars around Sagittarius A star, the black hole in the center of the galaxy, still look the same way they do. And I can't remember if they're blue. I think they're blue giants, and they're like 13 billion years old. So how come they're still burning blue? We forget that they're going right next to that thing. It is warping time. We have proof, evidence, but we haven't heard of scientists tell us that yet. So it's just this wacko who probably, in some people's mind, doesn't even know what they are as a gender. So technically, that's just a matter of when too. But anyways, I believe, once you get to the speed of causality, we witness that light does, yes, continue to shine at the speed that it does, infinitely fast. Light is not a speed. It is an element of the universe that is perhaps another dimension, maybe another type of dimension besides space or time. A dimension of light. Dimensions of the things we can sense. That's where we get to start looking at how things really are. In the future, one day, we will have found a way to probe the quanta for information about its history, what it's experienced. We will be able to take a grain of sand, a rock, and turn it over and see what it had seen in all the billions of years that it had been around. In other words, it's not going to be easy to commit a crime. It's going to be exactly impossible. Why am I so certain that we're going to get to time travel? And why am I so certain that we're already right there on the quanta thing, which I think actually may be harder. But that part right there, no. Okay. I'm going to have to go into conspiracy theory, guys. But, the theory doesn't say where I'm getting this from. The recently declassified data from the U.S. Army in the United Kingdom, Rendlesham Forest incident with the 2 guys, Lieutenant Holt and Pennington. Forgive me, I can't remember. Pennington. Okay. The thing is, the guy had gotten a binary code, and he kept seeing the same numbers, so he wrote it down, and then we had it translated, like, what is binary to English? Apparently it translated to English. That should let us know that it's not, aliens, at least with respect to that. But it did say, eyes of your eyes, year of origin, 8100. So, eyes of your eyes, children, kids. Wow. Probably actually more to the point, eyes of the eyes that had written the binary code down. That makes the most sense. So, actually, not. Anyways, yeah. Well, that also makes sense, is what I'm saying. But anyways, It's in my belief that we'll be able to beam a laser at, like I said, like a grain of sand, and we'll be able to tell what that grain of sand's been through. Well, if we send that laser into a black hole, we can see where what that black hole's been through. Now, here's where the tricky thing is. It's not the black hole that you really want to check. It's the accretion disk. You can actually get the data back. But if light really is faster, than C, then you'll get the data back. Just don't know if it's going to be this universe. We've just got to hope that another universe is doing it. Take your chances on humanity and send it on through and see what happens. Maybe some weirdo might just start having ideas. Who knows? Anyways, one of the funny things is we say that light waves, as they get shorter, that's what makes them change colors. But we also say black body radiation, that the hotter it gets, the shorter the wavelength. Has it ever occurred to anybody then? Maybe maybe it's not infinitely fast. But maybe there is a speed to light. Maybe there's a speed to wavelengths. Maybe different wavelengths have different speeds. And maybe light goes backwards. Except for radioactive light. Radiation goes forward for sure. Well, okay, I'm getting myself sidetracked with all of that. All I know is this. That actually was the right answer. I don't know anything, first and foremost. So that should have been my disclaimer. I remember Einstein said, "The more I know in science, the more I believe in God." I found that the more I believe in God, the more I actually think in science. So, what I like about light getting shorter at higher and higher energies is that there is a point where it is infinitely small, an infinitely small wavelength. That's that fun word again, infinite. We're saying that there's your speed limit right there. That's the wall, this is the floor, and this is light going. As you're going faster and faster, it requires more and more energy to get to. But light doesn't behave by that. Light is probably more like this. But I don't know how I explain that. Give me time and I'll be able to figure that one out. Forgive me. It's in my belief that the shorter the wavelength, maybe because light is quantum, it's also shorter, but it's also faster if we look at it that way. So if the hotter something gets, the faster the atoms are moving, the ions are moving, because eventually it gets to a plasma heat. There is X-ray hot, and it is interesting to me that X-rays and gamma rays, there's an overlap. That right there stands out to me as the answer to what wavelength is faster than light. Because not all light is. And I do believe that there's a way to constructively use infrareds. I have to learn more on that. So let me step away from that before I even finish that sentence. And let me just say this. The shorter the wavelength you go, you get to soft X-rays. That's above UVC. And you get into the soft X-rays. There's gotta be, we just don't know what it looks like, so we call it these things X-rays. There's a reason I can't. X-rays, they do what X-rays do. But then there's these ones called hard X-rays. Those are the ones that truly give you cancer much faster. And we also interchangeably call them gamma rays. But a true gamma ray is not a true X-ray. Well, no, an X-ray by definition is not the same wavelength. It's not the same frequency. It's the same wavelength. Forgive me, pardon me. They both look purple, but one reads a higher number than the other. The one with the higher number is the one that has the faster speed. The more hertz, the faster it goes. That's my faith. The color is the wavelength. So why is X-rays and gamma rays the same color? Because eventually they are so small, at one point it's going backwards. It's got to have something more to it than its witness. I want to say it's going backwards in time, but that doesn't make sense if I can't go back in time. Well, nuclear is a lot of power. I don't really know. Okay, this is areas I don't know. I don't know enough, so you'd really need a nuclear physicist. We could play around with alexandrite, freeze it, given the fact that you could make fiber optics with this, and at the temperatures right around, just above absolute zero, you can freeze a beam of light in that cable, punch out a binary code, Morse pattern in it, and let it warm back up, and it would just go back at the speed that it was. There is a superluminal flash that we are privy to in the neutrino burst that comes in a nuclear reactor, in fact. We know it's superluminal because underwater shows us so. But we think that water, it may be that water light, the neutrino light goes faster than regular light, so we see the Cherenkov radiation. It's in my belief that it has to be the superluminal flash. So unfortunately, the color blue isn't going to take you back. One of them is, but not but not for that reason. Unless there is a perhaps that we might accidentally hack it using